Demand Flexibility Exchange Innovation. I am Rafael Herzberg, an independent energy consultant based in São Paulo, Brazil. The agenda will cover how industrial and commercial energy users are charged when it comes to the power bill. What's the challenge? The utilities' capital expenditures, the contracted demand, the demand flexibility exchange concept. Why is it a win-win? Example to show the demand flexibility exchange benefit. A pilot project, escalating after the pilot and making it happen. Around the globe, the power bill includes, roughly speaking, 25% of what we call as wire fees, which is basically a function of the kilowatt demand, and that is charged by the local utility company. About 65% is associated with megawatt hour energy, which is charged by the local utility company if the energy user is a regulated one, or the power trader if the user is a deregulated one. And also the taxes, which is roughly speaking 10%. The kilowatt demand challenge. Around the globe again, contracted demand might be charged as a fixed kilowatt value or what we call a ratchet, which is a percentage of the maximum recorded demand in the past 12 months. In this case of the ratchet, it is as if the end user is always celebrating a new contracted demand as a function of what happened in the past. Let's see now how the local utility company bills the demand. It is the highest among the contracted demand, which we have already discussed might be a fixed kilowatt value or a ratchet, and the comparison with the recorded physical demand. And this is a very stiff measurement because the utilities meter keeps every 15-minute intervals throughout the month, and then the utility chooses the highest 15-minute integrated demand to call it the recorded physical demand. It is actually a very stiff condition. And why is that? If the recorded demand is below the contracted demand, then the billed demand is the contracted demand. And from the end user's perspective, it is as if this company is paying an idle demand. Now, if the recorded demand is above the contracted demand, there are penalties if it is a fixed demand contract, or if it is the ratchet, it will escalate to a higher level. But from the end user's perspective, changes are happening constantly. And why is that? First, GDP related. It means that if the economy is booming, energy consumption should also be increasing. Perhaps this energy user is developing energy efficiency projects and the energy consumption might be reduced. Or even potentially this energy user might be developing new contracts with different energy sources to develop cost arbitration. Therefore, electric power might be changing, being reduced or whatever. And then there is a very important strategy that sometimes happens in a given situation, which is, for example, in an industrial plant, insourcing or outsourcing. This changes potentially dramatically the amount of energy consumed and even the kilowatt demand required. Perhaps these guys will come up with on-site generation or cogeneration, and this also will affect what happens with the ongoing energy profile as seen from the local utilities perspective. And last but not least, because we are thinking about the long term, it might be that this company or institution might change activities in that specific location and accordingly will use energy in a different volume. Given the constant change that usually energy users are facing, matching recorded demand with the contracted demand becomes a super challenge. And here comes a reality check. There is, most of the times, payments of idle demands or penalties for surpassing the contracted demand. But from the utilities perspective, the electric supply chain is capital intensive. If we consider basically transmission and distribution of electric energy, we are talking, roughly speaking, of capital expenditure investments of about $1 billion per gigawatt installed. And most importantly, we have to recognize that it is a fixed cost. And I am telling this because it is fair that the local utility gets a compensation for this huge investment. But here comes the challenge. The market needs adjustable costs as a function of the never stopping changes. The ongoing century-old way to charge demand should be evolved. And here comes the demand flexibility exchange. I will show you that it is a win-win concept. All parties on the electric supply chain win. The demand flexibility exchange concept innovation. Let me give you an example. Let's say that an industrial A is willing to increase its contracted demand given the new productive plan. And let's say that this other industrial plant B is willing to decrease its contracted demand because these guys are facing idle demands. So the demand flexibility exchange is a place where A and B will meet in a platform sponsored by the local utility company to exchange their kilowatt contracted differences. It is a very plain, simple, and super cost effective, as I will show you. Why is it cost effective for all parties involved in this exchange? Well, let's say that this industrial or commercial energy user will be in a position to better adjust contracted demand costs vis-a-vis the actual ongoing needs. The local utility company, on the other hand, will be able to deliver more kilowatt-hour energy with the same total contracted demand. Basically, because an idle demand that was contracted by one energy user will be exchanged to another one who will be then in a position to activate it. Or, in other technical words, for who is familiarized with electric engineering, we will increase the utility company's load factor. Let's see a transaction example to make it easier to understand the concept. Let's say that energy user A is willing to reduce its contracted demand by 500 kilowatts. On the other hand, energy user B is willing to increase its contracted demand by 500 kilowatts. A avoids an annual equivalent payment of idle demands of, let's say that the ongoing rate is $10 per kilowatt per month. If we consider on a yearly basis, it becomes $60,000 per year. And B gets immediate 500 kilowatt increase. And the local utility company avoids capital expenditure associated with 500 kilowatts, equating to, roughly speaking, $500,000. The local utility company remains with the same total contracted demand billings. The demand flexibility exchange, as already shown, might be seen as a value-added service provided by the local utility company. It benefits all parties involved. The local utility offers a tool that might be recognized as a value-added service. It helps with business development in competitive environments. And here I show the proposed approach. First, develop a pilot project in a given utility company's territory. After a successful result, escalate to the whole service territory. And I mean, for each electric utility company, we would go this step-by-step procedure. And I am open to help entrepreneurs to make demand flexibility exchange happen all the way. And the demand flexibility exchange is potentially feasible in every country where there is a strong base of contracted demand. Demand flexibility exchange recognition. This proposed innovation was accepted by Bright organization. It is an energy innovation organization sponsored by the Ohio State in the United States. If you would like to watch the video that was created with Bright's coaching, just send me an email and I will send you the link right away. Thank you very much for watching this video, and here goes my contact information.